Hi, I'm Renee. I'm from Pikes Peak Library District. I work out of the East Library, but there are 14 locations throughout the county. From Palmer Lake in the north to Fountain in the south, Ute Pass in the mountains to High Prairie in the plains, there's probably a library location or mobile library stop that's close to where you are right now. Your local PPLD library offers a variety of services and programs that benefit students and teachers alike, and they're all for free. Say you need to write a research paper. You can come into the library, call, email, chat, any way you want to get in touch with us. And we're happy to help you with library databases, catalog, and recommended websites to help you get that A+ research project. But what about your other classes? Say you're struggling in math. You can come in for our Aftermath program. It's available at many of our library locations on different days of the week. Just check our schedule at ppld.org for information on when and where they're being held at a library near you. But if you can't make it into the library, no worries. You can check out BrainFuse. It's an online tutoring program. It's available from 2 to 11 every day in a variety of subjects, not just math. You can even write a paper, send it in to them, and they'll get back with you in 24 hours with ways to make it better. But wait, there's more. There's entertainment that you can enjoy on your own as well. Anybody like music? Well, we have free and legal ways that you can download music. Freegal gives you 5 songs that you can keep forever from Sony artists. There's lots more available on our Cybershelf, so check out ppld.org and then click on Cybershelf. There you'll find electronic books, audiobooks, music, movies, videos, magazines, comic books, lots of things that will make you happy. All you need is a library card to get started. It seems like I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, we have books at the library too. You can read or listen, and we have both physical and electronic copies, whichever one you prefer. Our library staff members are avid readers, and they're happy to share their favorites with you either at the library, at Booktalks at your school, or with a video book talk. Thanks for your kind attention, and we'll see you at the library.
Okay, today we're going to talk about how some of the most famous people you've heard about in history kicked the bucket. So we're going to start off with Napoleon Bonaparte. You'll notice in this picture he's holding his stomach. Maybe you'll notice in these 2 additional photos he's also holding a stomach, which really begs one question. Why does this dude keep holding his stomach? The answer? Cancerous stomach ulcers. If you're interested in more details like this, you need to check out the book How They Croaked by Georgia Bragg and illustrated by Kevin O'Malley. Ever heard the expression, "It was like a car wreck, I just couldn't look away"? That is pretty much how you will feel when you start reading this book. Chock full of morbid details, unfortunate events, and the nitty-gritty on some of the most esteemed faces in history. It's so terrible, you just have to keep reading. Ever know how the famous Egyptian queen Cleopatra died? Most of you probably haven't guessed that it was via a poisoned hairpin while under palace arrest. That George Washington started and survived dozens of battles during the Revolutionary War and won the nation its freedom, only to die of a toothache? Speaking of, did you know that no less than 7 presidents died while in office? This can mostly be attributed to unsafe medical practices and a lack of the Secret Service, as Georgia Bragg explains more in depth in this book. Nonetheless, if you are still interested in some of these outdated, unsafe, and non-hygienic medical processes, you are in luck. Between death stories, there are some great tips for fun activities like bloodletting and leeching, plus handy info on scurvy and tuberculosis. But this book isn't just for reading. Stories from this book can create dynamic dinner conversations with your family when you get home. Who doesn't want to hear about aplastic anemia and stomach ulcers over beef and broccoli? More of the graphic novel reader? That's okay. You may still like this book. Clever or cruel, depending on where you stand on the issue, the morose and sarcastically rendered drawings add dark humor enhancements every few pages to keep you interested. So in between all the nice stories you're listening to or reading, make time for this masterpiece of the dark and dreary, awful ends of the awfully famous.
This is The Testing by Joelle Shem-Barneau. The testing, because everyone loves to take tests, right? Well, maybe not, especially the kind that kill you if you fail. High school is over for Sia Vale, and getting into college always gives high school seniors the jitters. But getting into university means she can become someone important, like her parents, who are scientists, to help rebuild the United Commonwealth after the 7 Years' War, which left the country a scorched and brittle land where very little can grow. At 16, Sia is the youngest of her graduating class, 8 boys, 6 girls. Though not the smartest in her class, Sia is picked to be one of the 4 from her colony. It has been 10 years since someone from 5 Lakes has gone to the testing. Testing is simple, right? Take a test, you're done. Not so much. There are 108 students picked. Only 20 will move on to university. Sia quickly finds out that the intensive testing involves a series of brutal physical games. At just 5'2" and younger than most, she is faced with the most insurmountable odds. One wrong move can be a world of hurt. Fatal booby traps, killer mutants, life forms, brazen double-crossed candidates. After candidate is forced to fight for their life. There are 4 parts to this testing, and the testing are described as gruesome, bizarre, and wild. With the passing of each one, candidates who are unable or unwilling to do what is necessary to complete the testing may be eliminated by their own actions, by the test itself, or in some cases, rival candidates. This is The Testing by Joelle Shem-Barneau.
Today I'm going to talk to you about Life as We Knew It by Susan Beth Pfeffer. Our world could end suddenly in several different ways. Giant solar flares could set the planet on fire. An asteroid could wipe all of us out like they think one did to the dinosaurs. Disease, nuclear war, natural disasters, you name it. What we didn't know was that an asteroid hitting the moon could be included in that category. When we went out to the street to watch it, like we were watching an eclipse, we didn't know it was going to cause a worldwide catastrophe here on Earth. Everyone came out in the street in anticipation of a spectacular show, and that's exactly what we got. The asteroid knocked its moon off of its orbit and brought it much closer to Earth. It now looks like you could reach out and touch it. Since the moon controls the tides, our downward spiral started with the tsunamis. The entire state of Florida, gone, wiped out in an instant. Every single coastal city in the world faced the same fate. After that came the lists of the dead. Names were read on the radio and on TV, and we watched until we no longer had electricity. Everyone panicked and cleared the grocery stores of everything. Gas went to $10 a gallon if you could even find an open station. Since men with guns roam the streets, no one goes out alone. Then there was the flooding and volcanoes erupting in places where we didn't even know volcanoes existed. Soon the sky was permanently covered in a cloud of ash, which kept the sunlight out. Then there were the blizzards with record snowfall. The hospital staff has been wiped out by a deadly strain of the flu, and now that flu has visited our house, and I don't know if we're going to survive. There are fewer and fewer people around. Rumor has it that the moon is going to crash into our planet by Christmas. At least death would come to us quickly that way. If you want to find out what happens, read Life as We Knew It by Susan Beth Pfeffer.
Anna Justin Blood by Kendare Blake. Cass Lowood has inherited an unusual vocation. He kills the dead. Not by staking vampires or by decapitating zombies. He hunts down ghosts by following the urban legends and whispered tales that they leave behind, and sends them on to their final destination with a ceremonial dagger inherited from his father. His athame is a family heirloom, tied to Cass and his family through the ages and through blood. Cass became the next generation of ghost hunter after his father was killed by a ghost he had been hunting. Now Cass is following in his father's footsteps, chasing ghosts from town to town with his mother, who is a witch, and their cat, who can smell spirits. Cass doesn't give much thought to the future, only focusing on the next spirit to hunt and kill. So when they arrive in Thunder Bay, all Cass expects is the same old routine when hunting the murderous ghost that the locals call Anna Justin Blood. He doesn't expect to have his entire life changed in one terrifying moment. Because Anna Justin Blood is a ghost like no other. Ever since her murder in 1958, she has brutally killed every person who has stepped across the threshold of the abandoned Victorian house that used to be her home. She even still wears the dress she was murdered in, once white, but now stained red and dripping with blood. When Cass first sees Anna, he is half unconscious after being dumped in the house as a malicious prank by 2 of the boys that attend his new high school. As he looks up and helplessly watches Anna charging down the stairs, her face white and streaked black with curses, black hair blowing in a breeze only she can feel, he knows he is facing certain death. Until suddenly she changes, and Anna becomes the girl she was before she was murdered. Then Cass is pulled from the house by a force unknown, and he knows that this isn't just any ghost. Anna doesn't deserve to be ended at the end of his Athame. She deserves redemption.
Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. You've often heard about love stories where the 2 main characters come from different worlds, and they overcome obstacles to be together. This story is truly different. First, let's meet Delilah. I'm weird. Everybody says so. I suppose it's because while other 15-year-olds are talking about the best lip gloss and which movie star is hotter, I would rather be curled up with a book. Seriously, have you been to high school lately? Why would anyone sane want to interact with Cro-Magnon hockey players or run the gauntlet of mean girls who lounge against the locker like the fashion police, passing judgment on my faded high tops and thrift store sweaters? No thanks. I'd much rather pretend I'm somewhere else, and anytime I open the pages of a book, that happens. My mom worries about me because I'm a loner, but that's not entirely true. My best friend Jules totally gets me. It's my mom's fault that she can't see past the safety pins Jules sticks through her ears and her pink mohawk. The cool thing about hanging around with Jules, though, is that when I'm with her, nobody even looks twice at me. Jules understands my fixation on books. She feels the same way about B-movie horror films. She knows every single line of dialogue in The Blob. She refers to the popular girls in our school as pod people. Jules and I are not popular. In fact, I'm pretty much banned from ever being popular, or for that matter, within 100 feet of anyone popular. Last year, when we were playing softball in the gym, I swung the bat and broke the left knee of Allie McAndrews, the head cheerleader. Allie had to stay off the top of the pyramid for 6 weeks and accepted her prom queen crown on crutches. So there's Delilah. Obviously, she likes to read a lot. In fact, her favorite book is a children's fairy tale called Between the Lines that she discovered at the school library. Because of this book, this is how she met Oliver. I'll let Oliver introduce himself. There is only one page in the book where I'm alone, where there's no other character whose dialogue I have to prompt or whose motion I need to follow. Because of that, sometimes I test my boundaries in the moment before a reader starts reading. I might sing at the top of my lungs, or push the limit of the story by sitting on the ground and waiting until the book pulls me up the cliff. Sometimes I try to get to the edge of the cliff, to the spot where the rock has a crease in it from someone who dog-eared the page years ago. Occasionally, I climb to the highest point to see past the blurry edge of the illustration. None of it matters because no one ever notices what I'm doing anyway, and I'm pulled back into the flow of the fairy tale. Until today. As soon as I realized that Delilah had noticed the chessboard in the sand, something that had nothing at all to do with the story, I started to wonder if maybe she might be the one who was able to notice other things that aren't part of the story. Mainly me. At the very least, I couldn't let the moment pass without trying, so I scratched the words, "Help me," and she saw. I know she saw. I'm clinging onto the rock wall, and I'm holding my breath because I'm so scared she's going to turn the page just like everyone else, except she doesn't. "How?" she says, and very slowly I turn so that I'm looking right at her. I clear my throat, trying to speak out loud. It's been a long time since my voice was projected anywhere but inside a reader's head, and speaking takes great concentration for someone who's not used to doing it. Can you hear me?" I ask. She gasps. "You're British?" "Excuse me?" "You have an accent," she says. "When I was reading, I never heard an accent." Suddenly her eyes widen. "Oh my God, I've gone crazy. This book isn't changing, it's talking back to me." "No, I'm the one who's talking." My heart is racing and my thoughts are coming fast and furious. This girl, this Delilah, has just answered my question. She heard me.
She takes a deep breath. Okay, Delilah, pull yourself together. Maybe you have a fever. This will all go away with a couple of Tylenol. She starts to close the book, and with all of my strength, I yell, "No, don't!" "You don't understand," she says. Her cheeks are flushed and her eyes are wild. "Characters in books aren't real." She smacked her forehead. "Why am I even explaining this out loud?" "Because I am real," I plead. "I am just as real as you are." I stare at her, and you're the only reader who's ever noticed. It turns out that when the pages of the book are closed, Oliver and the entire cast of characters live his or her own life. Oliver yearns to escape the plot he is in and the part he must play over and over every time a person reads the book. For Delilah, besides hanging out with her best friend Jules and trying to avoid the mean girls, but now she is intrigued that she can see and communicate with Oliver outside of the storyline of the book he resides in. They feel a strong attraction to each other, and they want to hatch a plot to free Oliver from the book so he can emerge into Delilah's world. Can it be done? Find out in Read Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer.
Hi, I'm going to talk to you about The Paladin Prophecy by Mark Frost. If you are allowed to get A's, compete your hardest, run your fastest, or in general stand out in any way, then you don't have much in common with Will West. Will's whole life, he is strictly made to underachieve. It's not that he is not smart or fast, it's that he can't prove it to anyone other than his parents. On a day that starts off just like any other day, with running practice just like any other running practice, Will's life takes a sudden and alarming turn into the extraordinary. Men in suits are chasing him in a black sedan on his way to practice. He gets frantic texts from his dad to actually run, like all out, and when he scrambles into school, he's totally freaked out, and a woman is waiting to meet with him and his mom. In a thoughtless effort, Will had accidentally aced a standardized school test and inadvertently gets recruited to one of the most elite boarding schools that no one's ever heard of. He sure doesn't recognize the woman trying to get him to go there, and now that he's looking closely, he's pretty sure his mom is acting strange. She looks and sounds the same, but something is distinctly different. Will rushes through the rest of his day only to get home to see his mom working with the men in suits, and his dad is nowhere to be found. Will has to get out of here fast, but where is he supposed to go? Will starts on a series of escapes and realizes that he needs a long-term plan. He's torn though. The guys in limo showed up at the same time he got recruited to the school. Are they connected? And then there's this guy on a motorcycle who literally appears out of thin air wearing an Australian military jacket. Will is quickly forced to choose sides, but will any side be safe? Will the school end the craziness, or has it only just begun?